Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. And we have a yeast comparison. 3 beers, all made from the same wort. This is a comparison of 3 dry lager strains. I'm not going to tell Mike what they are just yet, and it's really not for him to guess. But I will give a hint, they are all made by the same manufacturer.
Oh.
So they're all dry lager strains. Let me tell you more about the setup. So like I said, one big batch of wort. This was, and we'll put in all the details, but the one malt that I used was a US 2-row. And the hops that I used were, started off with some Hallertauer and then a little Loral, since gives you that American noble hop quality, and used a little spring water for all of this to keep things clean, and then boiled that for an hour, also mashed it for an hour. After that, moved it to 3 1-gallon jugs, and each of those was inoculated with 3 grams each of the dry lager strains. Now, because these supposedly do very well at above lager fermentation temperatures, these were all fermented for a week at 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that I saw the signs of active fermentation pretty much settled out by day 4, and then by day 7, it was all done. And then we did a week of chilling in the old refrigerator, kind of a lagering period of time, even though it probably should be more like a few weeks. After that, packaged it up, and here we are. So 3 different beers, all made with 3 different yeast strains, and we'll talk about beer A versus beer B versus beer C. I have notes, a legend that matches the yeast strain with the letter. So, what are you? My fear is that all of these are going to taste very much the same, and
they're very similar. But I think I have some. I think I have some differences.
Okay, that's good.
I
like
this one. A is a little bit. A seems pretty soft on the nose. Very little hop character. There's a little bit of like something appley, maybe I get really soft malt character off of that. There might be like an apple like ester there, which would actually be more of an aldehyde, but let's not. Mm-hmm. This one is actually, I think, the cleanest aroma. It's almost really flat in aroma.
That's B.
B. In C, originally I got a little bit of a spice in the aroma. The flavor sort of follows suit. This is, to me, tastes more malt forward.
Yep.
This one, I get a little bit more of that American noble, almost a fruitier hop character. The hops are a little bit more, it's a little slightly more bitter than this. And then this one has the most noble hop flavor character. This one lingers still a little bit. I'm getting that on the palate. So that's
strong bite in that aftertaste on C, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's noticeably different than the other 2. It's not like 1 to 10 different, but it is, 7 to 9. I mean, it's different enough to, I think, if I had any 2 in one of these, I think I could probably triangulate it.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too. I think they're different enough. I might have a little bit of trouble telling these 2 apart, but this one's definitely...
I think it's the aroma on these ones that help.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we reveal, I want to say that this was actually suggested by one of our viewers. He actually asked, hey, can you do an experiment to taste these 3 lager strains side by side, and let us know what you think. So, beer number A. This is Soft Lager S-189. Okay?
Yeah. I should have shot my shot, but yeah.
This is the Swiss lager. It's coming from the Homebrewing Brewery in Switzerland. Let's read what the actual...
it's got a real doughy aroma.
Yeah. The Fermented site says, this lager yeast strains profile allows you to brew fairly neutral flavor beers with high drinkability. Okay. Depending on the conditions, it tends to present noticeable herbal and floral notes to lager beers.
Maybe.
Okay. Do you want to have a guess on B, the second one?
I'm trying to remember. So one of these has to be 3470.
Yes.
I'm going to go with this as 3470.
You're correct. Yes. So this is, of course, the Wine Stefan Brewery, or West Wine Stefan.
And the reason for that, for me, is that the malt profile, it tastes really clean, and it's in balance with the hop character.
Yep. So it says a good balance of floral and fruity aromas, gives clean flavors and highly drinkable beers.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to guess what the last one is?
Is this like? It's not. I can't just hit. Is it the orange package?
Probably. I don't remember the colors, but this is Soft Lager's S-23.
S-23.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Because this is pink. This one's the orange one. That's the. Yeah. Okay. S-23. Yep. I just couldn't remember what the other number was.
Yep. So this is it's like recommended for the production of fruitier or even more estery lagers. This profile gives beers a good length on the palate, and I think that's what I meant by there's like a strong bite that lingers in the aftertaste from that particular beer.
Yep.
So that handy dandy yeast comparison Google sheet you shared with me.
Yes.
I copied that. I forgot the man's name who put it together.
I can't remember either. Yeah.
But kudos to that guy. He's done a lot of reading of actual, I guess, yeast company literature and documentation, and it's put together in a spreadsheet and kind of compared yeast strains to yeast strains, and notably saying no, this yeast strain is not the same as this one.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you were to look for a liquid version of Soft Lager S-189, White Labs Zurich Lager, which makes sense,
Zurich,
Switzerland.
Yeah.
3470, he's saying not Diamond Lager. It's not Mangrove Jack's M76. It's not White Labs WLP 830. It's Yeast 22035 American Lager.
For 3470?
Yeah, that's what the line says. Isn't that interesting? There you go. Now, for Soft Lager S-23, and this makes sense, Yeast 2001 Arkel.
Yeah.
That tastes a lot like that particular.
I have to take a deeper look at that spreadsheet again about that one. But anyway, I agree with all of those assessments there. I mean, as far as the characteristics and what these strains actually are together. It's interesting because it's subtle, but it's not so subtle. I think that, in this example, you probably do make some differences. This one definitely is, unfortunately, at the end of the day, 3470 is definitely the most drinkable. Not that these aren't drinkable, but I would be drawn back to B repeatedly because it doesn't have it. To be honest with you, you know what it is? It lacks the subtle uniqueness that these two have. And so if that's what you're going for, that's what you're going for. Interestingly enough, thinking about Jar Destiny and Tropical Stout, in some examples being made with lager yeast at warmer temperatures to carry a certain ester profile.
That one.
Now I'm intrigued about maybe I might have to give S-23 a run there from how it's being reported and the for having just a little more ester profile.
So one note about from the Fermented site, when I looked at total esters, apparent attenuation, sedimentation time, alcohol tolerance, the same rating across the board for all three of these. They're all low esters. apparent attenuations between 80 and 84%. You know, sedimentation time very fast. Alcohol tolerance, like you can brew something that's 9 to 11% alcohol. So
I don't know, but these 3 strains are probably pretty old, and a lot of them with their German characteristics, their German heritage. Those guys were really like at the pinnacle of their craft for probably pushing the natural selection process in these individual breweries to create these things, but they were all probably chasing a very similar profile, you know what I mean? And so in the end, they're very similar, but they are neatly distinct enough. It's just, it would be really cool to understand a little bit more of like the depth of history of how these things come to be in those different breweries hundreds of years ago, potentially, right?
So, yeah, totally.
Cool. This is a great experiment.
I don't know if you have any, I mean, certainly you think this one's the workhorse. You'd use this over anything else?
You know, I've started using 3470 in, if I play with different lager strains in certain recipes, I keep coming back to this. So if I'm going to do a brand new, some sort of lager recipe, I come back, I start here before I explore other things, because it just works really well. And it's also, even aside from its flavor qualities, its performance is really good. Like there's like very little lag phase, there's very little whatever phase. And I remember when we went to the Homebrewers Conference back in Rhode Island, I sat in a talk from Fermented, and they showed a bunch of gas chromatography and a lot of other analysis of this thing fermenting even up to 70 Fahrenheit, and just how like the compounds being released really weren't any different than at 50 degrees.
Wow.
And you just have to realize then for a minute that like maybe a lot of the information in all your favorite books by all your favorite authors and all your favorite pundits in this hobby, you know, they're not as attuned to the scientific reality that Fermentus has put forward in that one talk, but it says that all of our learnings about it, you can't make lagers because if you don't have temperature control, I mean, it works. I mean, I ferment this regularly, 3470 regularly in my basement at 65, 68 degrees.
Yeah.
But I've used it too at 50 degrees, and it is not different. It's really not different. Anyone telling you otherwise is just sort of, and it's okay if that's how you love the hobby, but people who tell you otherwise are just clinging to like, they want the tradition of it. And that's okay. That's totally okay. But don't be shied away from using it. I would definitely use this one at 68 degrees before I use those ones at 68 degrees, because these ones are known to give you something extra. This is known to give you nothing, right?
To perform, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I find that this really makes noble hops like taste noble. They get the zippiness and that you want. Like one of those last house lagers I made, you take that first sip and you are taken back to being like 8 years old and having a sip of your dad's Lowenbrau. That's what it tastes like. That's what beer is supposed to taste like. If you're just trying to make beer, this is the way to do it.
I think that I would make with the A here, and I think that's S-189.
Yep.
That would be great with more malty lagers, ones that have some of those more darker kilned base malts.
I think doing like a Baltic porter with this would be the way to go.
That'd be good. This, to me, you know, I would like get a Czech Pilsner. Like I think that's what I would go with. I'd get some floor malted. I would spend outrageous money on the malts because it would make me feel like I was doing a better job of it. And then, you know, pick out some really good hops from the continent, and then use this yeast strain.
Yeah, I think I used the liquid version of this for the Jar Destiny, like the Czech dark lager, or Czech amber lager. I didn't turn to this one at the time because I had that other options available to me. But this is, if you want a dry option, this is a great way to make some of those Czech style lagers.
I think so too. I think so too, because it tastes like that's Pilsner or Kelton.
I don't think at the end of the day, if you used either one of these in that type of a beer, you'd be missing out. But if you want the traditionalist thing, this is going to work for you. You know, so.
All right, thumbs up on the experiment.
Yeah,
it's
it's always fun to play with
yeah.
ingredient variables to better understand the craft.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. It wasn't like, it didn't taste exactly the same, but at the same time, you know, it came to the same conclusion. You can make great beers with any of these. Maybe just apply them a little bit differently.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. You know, all the good things. You know, we'll try to keep doing this as long as we can. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.